OpenAI loses money on every single customer it has. Every time you pay for ChatGPT, they end that transaction poorer than before you opened your wallet. Yet this is neither a glitch nor a temporary problem they are working to fix. This is their business model. Their primary product costs more to deliver than it charges, and the more customers it acquires, the deeper into the red it goes. Yet in 2025, SoftBank, Microsoft, and a consortium of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds provided roughly $40 billion at a $300 billion valuation, more than Coca-Cola, McDonald's, IBM, and Salesforce. The investors who wrote those checks already had the documents. Every projection, every year of losses stretching into the future. But they funded the company anyway, so what do they know that we don't? OpenAI's financial statements for 2024 and 2025 leave little room for interpretation. The company reported $6 billion in revenue for the fiscal year 2024. By 2025, that number is projected to more than triple, but the cost of keeping the lights on, the servers humming, and the models running dwarfs every dollar collected. Internal decks and leaked investor slides reveal planned spending of over $22 billion for 2025 alone. $8.67 billion of that is earmarked just for inference, the raw compute needed to answer user queries and power API calls. The daily cash burn stands at $25 million. Every sunrise brings another $25 million in losses. The company's own forecasts show that for every paying customer, the cost to deliver the product exceeds the revenue they bring in. The loss is not a rounding error, it is the foundation of the model. Quarterly breakdowns show the scale accelerating. In the first 9 months of 2025, inference costs alone total more than $8.5 billion. That figure excludes payroll, research, and the physical infrastructure required to support the surge in usage. The gap between revenue and spend is not closing, it is widening. The magnitude of these losses is not theoretical, it is a matter of daily operations. The company's leadership has not attempted to mask the deficit, instead they present it as the price of scale. The numbers are not an accident, they are the business. OpenAI is not burning cash by mistake, it is burning cash by design. Sam Altman does not shrink from the numbers. In public and in closed-door meetings, he frames the losses as a calculated move. When pressed about the billions burned, Altman has said the company would be profitable if we stopped scaling training costs. The implication is unmistakable. Profit is on the table if growth is sacrificed. But OpenAI's leadership refuses to slow down. Quarterly reports confirm the revenue pattern. In the third quarter of 2025 alone, revenue reached $2.1 billion. Yet every dollar earned is outpaced by the cost of delivering the product. Projections for 2026 show a net loss of $14 billion. The gap is not closing, it is accelerating with management's full awareness. Altman and his team point to precedent. The early years of Amazon's cloud business, AWS, saw losses pile up as infrastructure was built at breakneck speed. For Amazon, the gamble paid off. AWS became the backbone of the internet, and the profits followed. OpenAI invokes this analogy, but the scale is different. No digital platform in history has racked up losses at this velocity or magnitude. Investors are asked to accept that these losses are not a sign of failure, but of ambition. The stated goal is to capture the core of the next generation's digital infrastructure. Altman's own words reflect the risk. We might screw it up. This is the bet we're making, and we're taking a risk along with that. The strategy is clear. Spend now, dominate later. The company's internal logic treats every dollar lost as an investment in lock-in. The question is not whether the losses are intentional. The question is whether the world will accept the cost. Deutsche Bank analysts call it uncharted territory. No startup, no technology company has operated with losses at anything approaching this scale. The numbers are not incremental, they are staggering. Internal projections show OpenAI on track to lose $44 billion by the end of 2028. That figure is not a typo. $44 billion. The sum is so large, some analysts reach for comparisons outside of business entirely. The Apollo program, at its peak, cost $288 billion in today's money. OpenAI's projected losses are more than 15% of that total, spent not on rockets or moon landings, but on data centers and compute cycles. Market analysts do not hide their alarm. In conference calls and research notes, the phrase repeated is scale risk. The company's losses are not a temporary storm. They are a permanent feature of the business plan, one that assumes the world will tolerate a burn rate with no historical precedent. The financial sector is left with a question: how far can a company go into the red before the ground gives way? The answer, for now, is unknown. But the numbers keep rising, and the world is watching. NVIDIA holds the keys to the kingdom. More than 80% of the world's advanced AI chips come from a single supplier. Every ChatGPT query, every API call, every new model release runs on silicon designed and sold by NVIDIA. In 2025, OpenAI's internal forecasts show billions flowing out the door, but the destination is not a mystery. The lion's share lands in NVIDIA's accounts. This is not a typical vendor and customer relationship. NVIDIA's dominance is so complete that it sets the terms of access, the pace of innovation, and the cost of doing business for every AI company. When OpenAI raises capital, much of it is earmarked for GPU purchases. Analysts estimate that for every $10 billion OpenAI spends, NVIDIA books up to $35 billion in chip sales across the sector. The cycle is self-reinforcing. Speculation of a $100 billion financing arrangement between NVIDIA and OpenAI circulates in analyst circles. The logic is circular. NVIDIA backs OpenAI, OpenAI buys more NVIDIA hardware, and the capital returns to its source. This mechanism echoes the vendor financing strategies of the dot-com era, where suppliers funded customer expansion to guarantee their own growth. In this system, losses can be sustained as long as the supplier's pipeline remains open. The capital does not simply disappear. It recirculates, binding OpenAI ever closer to its supplier and making NVIDIA the silent engine behind the AI boom. OpenAI's business model is not just about selling access to artificial intelligence. It is about controlling the layer that everything else depends on. The company's losses are not a side effect. They are the cost of building a dependency so deep that opting out becomes unthinkable. Every dollar burned is a down payment on a future where OpenAI is the gatekeeper, not just a service provider. The logic is binary. Either OpenAI becomes the backbone of digital infrastructure, or it collapses under the weight of its own ambition. There is no middle ground. The scale of spending, the speed of expansion, the relentless pursuit of market share all serve one end: to become indispensable before anyone can challenge the position. Dependency at this level is not a technical question. It is a matter of power. When the platform is the infrastructure, every application, every business, every government agency that builds on top is locked in. Switching costs rise, alternatives shrink. The company that sets the terms becomes the company that writes the rules. The world faces a choice: accept a future where access, pricing, and innovation are dictated from the top, or risk the collapse of a platform that now underpins everything from search to commerce to national security. There is no guarantee that the bet will pay off. But if it does, the cost of entry will have been paid in advance. The stakes are set. The outcome remains unresolved. Today, OpenAI bleeds billions by design. It lost $540 million in 2024, with investor capital as fuel. Sam Altman calls it the cost of ambition. As dependency deepens and scale grows, the real gamble is not bankruptcy. It is who owns the infrastructure when the economics finally make sense.